Oh, hi! Chrissy here from Self Love and Sawdust, and today I'm going to teach you how to make concrete. Sounds intimidating, right? Well, I thought so too until I found out the thousands of dollars it takes to put a concrete slab back here. You get real DIY brave when you see those quotes from contractors. This is the first installment of my Patio Makeover series, and I hope to incorporate everything I learned from the many YouTube videos I watched to learn how to do this. Alright, time to get started! Now the beauty of pouring concrete pavers versus laying pre-made pavers is that you don't have to level the ground perfectly. You do, however, have to make sure your frame is level and even with the paver next to it. So you'll want to lubricate the frames so they're easy to pull up and you can reuse them. I went with plain old canola oil here and it worked perfectly. Next, we'll want to use sand, dirt, or gravel to fill in the gaps and secure the frame so it doesn't slide around when you're filling it with concrete. I like to pack gravel around the outside just to keep the frame in place. My local landscaping company delivered these super sacks full of concrete mix, which is sand and aggregate already mixed in one bag. Your ratio should be 3-to-1. That's 3 sand and aggregate to 1 cement. Then you'll add water. It's super important that you have a mask, eye protection, and something to keep the dust out of your hair and the sweat from dripping in your face. Alright, so what we're using here is your typical white Portland cement. What's the difference between white and gray cement, you ask? I'll discuss that more in my blog post. Okay, see how I'm carefully scooping this into the bucket? I picked up the bag and dumped it in the first time and it was just a big dust cloud in my face. You don't want this in your eyes or on your skin, especially when you are sweating. Cement contains high levels of crystalline silica and can cause a lung disease called silicosis, which is no joke. Alright, so I've got my 8 quarts here. I'll cover this up so the dog and neighborhood kids don't get into it, and I'll add it to my wheelbarrow along with the sand and the aggregate. Here we go! See what I mean by all the dust? This 20-gallon heavy-duty tub from Home Depot is perfect for mixing your concrete with water using a standard garden hoe. A good amount of water at the beginning, but not too much because you don't want it to be soupy. This will matter when you're trying to smooth it out later. And now you'll just mix and add water on repeat until all the dry stuff is blended in and you have the consistency of melting ice cream.
Cement mixer. Cement mixer. Cement mixer. You really like to stir things up. Cement mixer. When you're pouring out the sidewall. Cement mixer. When you're mixing up that concrete. Cement mixer. You really like to stir it up. Cement mixer. When you're rolling down the street. Cement mixer. When you're mixing up that concrete.
As you can see here, my concrete's not super wet. I like to carefully put it in the corners of the frame just to make sure the frame stays put. One tub just wasn't quite enough for one paver, so I had to go back for more. I think a half batch will do just fine here, so I got 12 quarts of the concrete mix to 4 quarts of cement this time. Remember, 3-to-1. Add water, mix, and repeat. You'll want to make sure your frame is nice and full so we can level it out. Get a 2x4, or I'm using a 1x4 with a very straight edge. Make sure it's not warped or bent at all. Position it on top of the frame and shimmy it back and forth while skimming the top of the paver. As you can see, you're going to get some holes in there when you do this. Just grab some of the concrete that you skimmed off and fill them in. Then skim again. This time you'll see I took a pretty large chunk with me while skimming. Fill it up, skim it again. It's a vicious cycle, really. This is where the perfectionist in you will either be really satisfied or really annoyed. You'll want to buy a finishing trowel that's the same width as your frame to keep from getting lines in your concrete while smoothing it out. Just keep going over it again and again until it's pretty smooth. You can put some pressure on the trowel, but see how I'm lifting up the front a little as I pass over it? If you don't do that, you'll scoop up the concrete with the front of the trowel and have to start all over again. I like to scrape off the edges and keep my workspace as clean as possible. Time for the edger. Y'all, I could seriously do this for hours. Same as the trowel, you'll want to lift up the front edge slightly so you don't catch it on the concrete. Just keep working your way around. You'll see the bubbles will start coming up and water will rise to the surface. This is why you don't want your concrete to be too wet or soupy. It's difficult to manipulate. I've been using paper towels to sop up the excess water. Now, I have no idea if this is allowed in the professional world or not, but after doing 20 of these pavers, I've decided that this is my signature method. Once you've established a good solid edge, you're going to go back over it with your finishing trowel to remove that line caused by the edger, unless you don't want to. Have you ever seen that line on sidewalks? I think some people keep it in for decorative purposes, maybe laziness, I don't know. But if you want that frame around the edge of your paver and you're happy with the way the center looks, then you're done. If not, and you want to continue down this obsessive compulsive road with me, then let's go. Alright, these bubbles are going to keep popping up the more and more you go over it. Smooth them out. Also, water started pooling up on the side and has blurred my beautiful edge. I'm just going to use my paper towel and blot that up a bit. Oh, see right here where the concrete has settled a little and it's caused a dip? I'm going to take some of this extra over here on the side and fill that in. Perfect! Now back to edging and smoothing and edging. You could literally do this all day. But don't! It's already starting to harden. Okay, walk away from the paver. If you're in a place where leaves or acorns might fall on it, make a little tent over the paver to protect it from the elements. And let's check back in tomorrow. And now it's time for the big reveal. Using a crowbar, you'll pry up the frame. I have to stand on it so I'm not lifting the concrete paver along with the frame. Also, this is usually easier, but the ground is very soft. We've had a ton of rain. Using a board for leverage is a really good idea. You'll just keep working your way around until you get the frame pulled up enough to take it off the concrete. Ta-da! Now you know how to make concrete from scratch. Please stay tuned for the next installment of my concrete series, which is all about staining the concrete. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please click like on the bottom of this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting and fun DIY projects.